to keep some things to myself. I like to keep my issues strong. It's always darkest.
Hi again. I'm here to speak on feeling safe in your own home. And that's something I've struggled with, and I'm still healing. I'm still healing the parts of me that feel unsafe in my own space. And I'm in the living room now. I'm eating my dinner. It's just some rice, some kale, and asparagus, and veggie patties all mixed together. It's what I have, and I'm learning to use what I have in order to show my gratitude. But that could be said in a different segment. I'm here to share my experience with trying to feel safe in my own space. It's not something that it's not something I thought I needed to heal from. Growing up in my household, the only thing I wanted to do was escape and live elsewhere and live on my own and in quiet serenity and peace. And I'm getting there, and this stage of my life is surreal to me because I have that space and comfort to exist in a safe space. But for some reason haven't felt all the way safe yet. Partly due to the times where I felt so unsafe in my own house growing up. The whole time I lived there, I felt scared. I was afraid to be seen. And living here with only one person she's very nice and she makes me feel welcomed. But for some reason I was staying in my room the whole time because that's where I felt the most safe. That was my sanctuary. And I still do. In my old household, growing up, I was sharing rooms up until the last few years of living there, and I was still sharing space. I had my own room, but I didn't have a door, and so it just didn't feel like mine. And now that I'm in my own room, it just still doesn't feel, I still spend so much time there because I just genuinely feel the most safe and comfort in there, just staying in bed. I just love it. So it's natural for me to stay in my room because that's what I'm used to. But to be scared to actually exist in the whole place, the whole apartment, to actually walk to the kitchen, to the living room, to the bathroom, it's like I force myself to stay there, even if I'm hungry. There was times where I would stay until afternoon or late at night just because, not late at, more like the evening, or until I knew I was alone, then I would come out. And that's not a way to live. That's just so sad and lonely, and it just makes me feel like I'm not honoring myself and I'm not being there for myself. And I had to keep asking, like, why am I acting this way? You know, I finally came to a stage in my life where my physical manifestation, my desires of wanting my own space, of wanting my own room, is come to fruition. But for some reason, I can't get out of my head. I can't get myself to leave this room. And it's a journey to get there, to feel safe. The power of feeling safe with other people, the power of feeling safe within yourself, the power of showing up for yourself, being there for yourself, being that reparenting yourself, being your ally, being your advocate, being your friend, generally being your own friend, and telling yourself that you're gonna get yourself there. I got you. Tell yourself, like, I got you. I got you. It's okay. We got each other. Whatever tools you use to connect with yourself, I would advise you to continue that, as I have, and that has helped me feel more safe and confident, feeling more safe with just existing as me, has helped me get out of my room more, be in the not in the living room until late at night, because usually I don't have a business being in there, but it's nice to just have a meal outside of your own room, to actually sit at a table. Like here, I'm sitting at a chair. You know, I know that just by sitting in this way, my food is digesting so much easier. I don't feel so cramped up and restrictive in my room. And even though it brings me comfort, sometimes I need my true nature, my true way of being revolves around feeling free and expanding and being able to take up space in my own space feels really good to me. So just by sitting here, even though I'm alone, so it's much easier to actually sit in the living room and eat, but feeling more safe with my existence makes me feel like, oh, I can sit at that kitchen table, I can sit in the living room. And it's not an easy process, because I still could carry that fear of being seen and feeling less worthy to coexist with my roommate. Those feelings may still come up, but the more I can tune into my internal compass, the more I can have that lead. The more I can have my internal compass pointing to the direction of love, of loving self, of feeling worthy, knowing that I'm worthy, having that truth ingrained in me, the more it can be easier to step out of your comfort zone and honor the parts of you that craves whatever it craves. I crave feeling safe in my own home. I crave crave more silence. I crave less noise when it and indecisive. I crave less indecisiveness. You know, like if I'm staying in the room, if I'm exiting the room, I let go. It's to get to that point. I have to let go of my old self. I have to meet that younger part of myself with compassion and trust. Have that inner self-trust that you can evolve past this. That you can become that version of you that's not afraid of taking up space, of just existing as you are. And I'm learning to appreciate and love myself just as I am. I'm stepping away from that noise, that doubt, that self-doubt that tells that my mind says that I'm less worthy of taking up space, that I'm not supposed to be in the kitchen if my roommate's doing what she needs to do in the kitchen, that I'm not supposed to be in the living room if she's already in the living room. I'm letting go of that voice. I'm stepping away from that because it does not belong to me. That's not what I want to bring into my future reality. My higher self, it doesn't come to her mind. It doesn't register to her. It doesn't belong to her. She takes up space. She knows her value. She knows that she is appreciated in the space that she's in. She knows that it's okay to just be. She knows it's okay to just be. I love my way of being. I want to shed that version of me that was restricting herself and was contemplating too much on how much noise she would make. If I was playing something on my device and the volume was so much slightly louder than intended, I'd quickly put the volume down. I'd limit the amount of movements I would do, just because it's like I was pretending I was not there. And it's a constant pretending that I'm actually not there, that I'm not at the house. I say house, but apartment. Pretending that I'm actually somewhere else. And all this is just to say that all of what you feel is valid, all your past experiences, you can honor that and move through that. I can say to myself, yes, I experienced not feeling safe. Yes, I was scared. But now look at me. Look at where I've put myself. I'm not in that situation anymore. And I can remind myself, okay, I'm not in that situation anymore. Reminding myself where I'm at. And affirming the truths that I want to hold on to. And not believing I'm that old, that past version of me. It's a lot, and some ways that you can move through that is, one, if it's the common areas that you're scared to go into, like the living room and kitchen, even the bathroom, well, maybe not, the bathroom doesn't count. I know personally I've held out with going to the bathroom. I eventually go. And then I quickly close my door and sometimes lock it. And if I'm leaving to go to work, or if I'm going somewhere, I'm going out, I can't lock it when I'm exiting, but if I'm inside the room, then I can lock the door. And that's what I usually always do when my roommate is living with me. I always lock the door even when I'm sleeping. And that's not always necessary. I've been learning that too. It still feels comforting to lock the door because my mind still wants to go to the worst case scenario. Like, what if somebody breaks in? What if, somebody comes through the door? First of all, they'll have to come to the building's door, and then the apartment's door, and then my door. I don't need my mind to think of that situation. I don't need to put that energy. Where your mind is, your energy flows as well. And I don't need to put that energy towards that negativity. And I've been learning to not lock my door less often. And even if I do, I show myself compassion. I'm just like, it's okay, because that's what you've always wanted, that privacy. You've always wanted your alone time. And if locking the door makes you feel more private, makes you feel more safe, that's okay at the moment, So if it's a kitchen and living room that you're scared to spend time in, just spend it for an hour. Take it slow. I was asking for a friend, I was asking them advice, and they just told me to take it slow. When I cook in the kitchen, I like to honor my roommate's time, so I don't necessarily spend too much time there, because I want to be mindful if she needs to cook or wash the dishes. But it's nice to not have to worry about how much noise I'm making with the pots and pans, even if she's right in her room or in the living room or watching something. I have to mentally prepare myself before entering the kitchen. I have to tune into myself in my own room. I have to check in with myself and reaffirm myself before entering the kitchen, so that I can feel more safe. And when that time comes, when I do have to cook, I'm not too worried about how the pots and pans, how much the noise they're making, or how much noise I'm making with closing the cabinets or washing the dishes. So with the living room, if there's something you want to watch, personally, I wait till at night because of the projector, so that the sunlight, if it's in the daytime, the sunlight, I won't be able to see, much of the projector with the sunlight coming through. So it's nice to do it at night, because if my roommate's sleeping, then I feel more safe leaving the room and actually watching something in the living room. But if it's in the daytime, I personally like sitting down to read, even having a meal. Sometimes I do it in the kitchen too, but if it's in the living room, that's something I want to do. So much of how I exist, of how I want to exist in my own space, a lot of that comes out when I'm by myself, like right now, because my mind is no longer worried or doubtful of my movements, of what I'm doing, of questioning if this is too much noise. None of that exists when I'm by myself. And that's when I realized how much of myself I was containing by how much of myself I was containing out of fear. How so much aspects of myself that I was hiding away because I had a fear of being seen. And I'm grateful that it's only one person I live with, because I question whether if it was a scenario where I was living with 2, 3, 4 people, even 5, but it deters me living in spaces that many people, because it feels like less privacy. But it could work, depending on who the people are. But I'm grateful that it's just one person, because I don't know how I would act if it was 3 other people. Maybe for some odd reason I'd feel more comfortable, because then I feel less pressure with talking to them if they have each other to talk to. But because it's one person, I sometimes feel obligated to say something, because I'm the only one living with my roommate. But it also gives me a chance to feel more safe. It gives me a chance to open myself up more when I'm the only person living with her, because I don't want to feel closed off. I don't want to make her feel like she can't come to me and just say hi, because I'm in my room a lot. But I make an effort to be friendly and talk. And I'm not sure if I'll mention this in this segment of getting yourself to be communicative to your roommate, because that's a whole other topic. But that's something I also feared, was the obligation to say much. And I'm learning that it's okay not to say much. You can still coexist without having a close-knit bond, because you have your own life, she has her own life. You can set the rules for how you want to exist. And when it comes to existing with another person in a shared space, that has to come with sacrifices and compromises and boundaries with yourself and with the other person. Yeah, maybe I'll mention that. Maybe I'll talk about that in another segment, is coexisting with somebody, feeling safe coexisting with somebody, because that does include having that hard conversation sometimes, and that includes being communicative. And that's hard. That's not always easy. And it's easier to stay in our comfort zone and stay in the room when there's less obligation to start a conversation or to be seen. That's why I need a work from home job, so that I have a reason to stay in my room all the time. No. So spending just a short amount of time in the living room or kitchen, and then when you feel ready, when you feel like you need to retreat back in your room, you can. It's okay. It's okay. You don't have to force yourself to be there all day or for a couple of hours. It can just be for 30 minutes to an hour, doing the activity you would normally do if you didn't have that fear attached to it. Another point I was going to make was, I guess I touched on this earlier, checking in with yourself. You have to ask yourself the questions as to why you're behaving this way, and is it stemming from childhood experiences, which a lot of it can be experiences from our home life, healing comes so much easier when we know the root and the source of the problem that's arising, of the emotion that's arising. It's the first step for me, and then from there, that's when I know the right moves to make, what moves works best for me, how I can move through that. Be patient with yourself. If you're not there yet, that's okay. I didn't know I had these issues before being in the space that I am in now. The last place I was in, I could feel it existing partially. And I say that because there was no living room, there was only a kitchen, and there was never an opportunity for me to, hardly any opportunities for me to actually cook in the kitchen and use the kitchen. So the only option was for me to actually stay in my room. And at the time, that's something it was hard for me to accept. I actually wanted to use the kitchen more. And now when I was moving into this space and seeing that I would have that time in the kitchen that I wanted to always have to cook my own meals, but it still wasn't working. Just because I had that one thing, I was still not ready and prepared to actually go in the kitchen. And it just shows that just because you have something physically, your mind and where you're at mentally, may not be prepared for it. Even if it's right in front of you, it doesn't mean you're not yet prepared for it. And that's okay. And I'm grateful for this experience that I'm having now, because it's teaching me all this stuff that I'm still working through, and that it's okay, because I'm trying my best. Let me take a bite out of this food before it gets cold. I was on a roll. Hope I didn't lose you. So, spending a short amount of time in the shared common spaces. This is not in order, just a few insights, tips that could help you feel safe in your own space. 2, questioning, diving deeper into what's making you feel this way, anything that's coming up, those feelings and emotions. They're giving you a spotlight as to what you need to work through and move through, ultimately helping you evolve into that version of yourself that you want to embody. 3, be patient, be kind to yourself on this journey. 4 is, I guess, just communicating with that roommate or the people that you're living with. You don't have to share the details, and that's something that I had to reflect on myself. I'm not someone that shares my personal information so much unless I have that connection with you. And because I may not have that close connection with the person I'm living with, it doesn't mean that I can't say or share how I'm feeling, or without the details. So you could simply say, "Oh, I'm looking to be in the living room at this time of the day. Is that okay with you?" Like, if you want your privacy, you could ask for that. Asking for stuff, asking for your needs, your desires, asking for what you want, that's a very strong, powerful movement. That's something that's very strong of you to do, because I'm still learning to do that myself. And it's easy to forget that you can do that. Anytime you want to make changes of your own life, any habits that you're trying to change, like let's say you're living with someone and your habits might change, your lifestyle might change. Let's say you start waking up earlier. You know, you have a, let's say you start your day off, you're going to start let's say your morning routine changes, and maybe it may affect the other person's morning routine. That is important to state that, and to communicate your needs and what's going on with you, because when you're living with someone, it's a nonverbal agreement that you guys are going to coexist, and that hopefully you coexist peacefully, and that you respect each other's boundaries and the times you both wake up and your routine and your habits, you're just your lifestyle, right? So once you have that agreement that you're coexisting together, there's a lot of sacrifices and compromises and communication, because you're sharing a space with someone. So that's bound to happen. And so I think this is the fourth step. Yeah, the fourth thing I would say, I would say, communicate your needs. Oh, I want to spend time in the living room, or I'll be cooking at this time. So that way they know, and when you get into the living room or kitchen, maybe they won't be in, they might not be in there. They'll know that it's their time to step away. They know that if they're wanting to cook, it's gonna be either before or after that time, or it could be at the same. Well, not necessarily. I'm still learning to feel comfortable with sharing, being in the same room as the person I'm living with, like the living room. But it's because I like my privacy too, so that could play a part in that. So if you genuinely like your privacy, and maybe you don't have that close connection with the person you're living with, because it's a blessing to live with your friends and your sisters, because you guys already know each other deeply. You know your habits. You know how you guys both work. And if it's not that connection and you want that privacy, it's okay to ask for that time alone in the living room, or any common shared area of your space. Let's see, what else can I say about this? If you have the opportunity, I'm trying to articulate my words. If you have the opportunity to have that day by yourself where you know that no one's home, observe how you act. Observe how you start acting in your own space. Witness what's coming up for you, how you're feeling. Like, when I'm by myself, I feel lighter, I feel more free, I feel more expansive, I feel more fulfilled and satisfied with the day, with just being at home, less desire to actually want to go out. Because when I did go out, one of the reasons why I decided to go out was because I didn't want to stay in my room. I didn't want to be perceived as someone who's always in the room or always in the house, and having to always worry about the amount of space that took up. So that was the reason why I would leave sometimes. And yeah, observe, witness, see how you are when no one's around. And you might, 9 times out of 10, it'll be a better experience than when you're actually living with if that, a better 9 times out of 10 might be a better experience. And from there you can take all that you were doing, behaving, acting, see how those moments when you're by yourself, see how that can transpire into, see how you can implement those small moments to yourself into the moments where there's somebody else there. See how you can take a small moment or even a big moment. Say you're dancing and the volume is loud, but you don't want it to be too loud. But when you're by yourself, it's loud. Just test the waters a little bit. Sometimes you have to put your toes in the water. And so when when your roommate or the person you're living with is there, you can put the volume just a little bit higher. Sometimes we have to let go of what our mind is telling us. Sometimes we have to step back and just choose not to listen to our mind. And check in with ourselves. And ask yourself, would you still be doing this one thing if that person wasn't there? Would you still be dancing in your room with the volume up if that person wasn't there? Would you still be chanting and vocal toning and just existing in your own space the way you are when you're by yourself? Would you still be doing those certain things in your daily life if you were alone, or if that person was there? If you were alone, would you still be doing those things? And if the answer is yes, then you have to honor those parts of you that still desires to do those things when who you're living with is there. And it's just the process of shedding the old you, welcoming in the new, letting go of how you once operated, and allowing yourself the permission to be your true, authentic self, to exist and honor all parts of you. This stage of my life is like a rebirth of honoring all the parts of me that I don't want to dim down. Because dimming down, it makes me feel so tense, and it makes me feel anxious, and it's just, you feel it. Sometimes you just feel it in your body, and it just makes you want to do a big exhalation, like a good sigh, just letting it go. So I'll leave you to that to reflect on, and I hope it reaches people that need to hear it and that have gone through a similar experience. Yeah. So if you want to get up in the morning to drink your water, go in that fridge and drink your water. It's definitely something I'm still learning to do. And if you want to eat in the morning, do that. If you want to eat in the morning. At the same time, of course, being mindful of if the noise you're making and all of that. Respecting the other person's needs. Thank you for watching. I'm honoring you on your journey. Drinking my water. Okay. Thank you guys.